Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of CUNY Uncut, where we talk about anything and everything, uncensored, unedited, and uncut. I'm your host, David Horn, and today I'm joined by a truly sensational activist. This BMCC graduate and current Brooklyn College senior has been advocating for universal health care, higher education funding, and affordable housing both on his campus and in his community of Sunset Park, Brooklyn, where he is also a community board member. In addition, he has been helping students in Brooklyn register to vote as an intern with NYPIRG. And without further ado, Damian Andrade, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm wonderful this evening.
So you are the first official guest of season 3, so I did want to congratulate you on that. Yeah, I know it's very exciting. It's very exciting. So one of the things that you've been known to do is you're part of NYPIRG. Can you kind of explain what NYPIRG does and how it's involved on campus?
Yes. So NYPIRG is the New York Public Interest Research Group. So we are a nonprofit student organization representing college students all over the state. So our main mission is really uplifting student voices through the political process. So our main mission is really training students to become political activists. We help you guys on your public speaking, writing, intensive stuff, and we help you prepare to really take action to really uplift your community. We help you train in voter registration, trying to do your civic duties, trying to get as many students to register to vote. And we inform them, on education policies. Higher education is one of our main core issues. So we really try to get, a lot of students to really come out and, hey, we want a free college. We want more funding for our universities. And yeah.
Well, that's amazing. First off, we have to do a little bit of backtracking. Can you tell me what NYPIRG stands for the people that don't know?
Yes. So NYPIRG stands for is the New York Public Interest Research Group.
So I wanted to also ask how you originally got involved with NYPIRG.
Yes, thank you. So I originally got involved with NYPIRG back at BMCC. I was currently a undergrad health. My major was undergrad health. I was doing nursing for a year and a half, and I was walking out the door one day, and I saw someone table for NYPIRG saying, "Hey, you want universal health care?" And given that I was doing nursing at the time, and I believe everyone has a right for health care, that's the main reason why I was going to become a nurse. I signed the petition, and they got notifications to come to chapter meetings, attended those chapter meetings at the end of the semester. And then I found out there was a position running for the board of directors for BMCC for the following semester. So I took a stab at it, ran a campaign. It was a very contested election with it was 6 to 8 people running for only 3 seats for the campus, and then I took a shot at it, got in first place, and then throughout my history, went through there.
Well, first off, congratulations to you on that. That's an amazing achievement. And then throughout all of your work through BMCC, we'll talk a little bit about that, but then you're also continuing it now over to Brooklyn College. So can you talk about kind of the environment of NYPIRG on campus as a Brooklyn College student?
Yeah, so the environment of NYPIRG is we're really supposed to be there for the students. So whenever resources you need, you could always come to our offices at any campus, specifically at Brooklyn College, where we're located in Ingress Hall, 1433. We're really there to help students register to vote. You could come to our office because we also have a free store where students could donate any clothing they have.
Nice.
We also have clothing available for any students in need. We also have menstrual products, hygiene products, and also Narcans available at our office. So we really there to really be there for students. So any club that would like to partner with us, we're happy to partner with you in any given circumstances.
Amazing. It seems like you also said that there was other NYPIRGs at other campuses, so it's definitely trying to build a community throughout the CUNY campuses and stuff like that. But speaking of community, I kind of wanted to talk about being raised in Sunset Park and what that experience was like for you, and then just how it transitioned into the political things that you've been involved in.
Yes. So I'm 22 years old, born and raised in Sunset Park. I live, right down from the BQE on 45th Street. And, my life in Sunset Park is amazing, I would say. Growing up there, living next to a highway, it's kind of but, at the same time, I feel like that also kind of started to push me a little bit into the political direction because, given that a lot of residents do live down on Third Avenue in Sunset Park, we have like a whole highway, the BQE, that cuts through our working class neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody who lives on that corridor has grew up with asthma. I currently have asthma because I lived there. My mom, my father, my two sisters, and my brother grew up with asthma. Even
Wow.
my neighbors in all of the apartments that were live right on the corridor. And I feel like, we wanted something different. We wanted to see change. We want to really see like, hey, there's people who live on Third Avenue, because I feel like there is times where people look at people on Third Avenue that there's no residents there because there's a highway. But it's, wrong, because there's like thousands of residents who live on the highway. But I always say Third Avenue is a forgotten community because we don't have no trash cans anywhere located on Third Avenue.
Really?
Yep.
Like nothing along like on every city block I thought it had.
Yep.
Wow.
Every single block you will see a trash can, but on Third Avenue and Sunset Park, on the whole corridor, there is not a single trash can located. It's only trash cans available on 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue, 6th Avenue, and etc. But there is not a single trash can located on Third Avenue.
So would you say that your block is more polluted than others?
100%. There's trees on my block. My block is kind of lengthy, with like I would say 4 apartment buildings, and the rest will be like homes on the going down to 2nd Avenue. But I would say like my block would always be the most like polluted, compared to like blocks going up to 4th Avenue near the subway station, or like 5th Avenue, like Quinta, where, people in Sunset Park would know.
Wow. So would you say that brought you closer to your block in general and also your community because you related to those same sorts of problems?
Yeah, 100%. I just wanted to see something different, because seeing that, like, my block has always been neglected when it came to sanitation. I always put in requests to the Department of Sanitation, to install a trash can on my block, and they never got back to me. I have contacted the local city councilwoman during that time, and we still couldn't do anything about having a trash can, because for some reason it wasn't in the city's route.
Okay.
Which is weird, which I don't understand. Yeah.
Okay. But like, was that something that you would bring up on your own, or would you bring that to your community board, which you're now a member of, Community Board 7? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I would bring this up with the sanitation committee, but unfortunately our sanitation committee hasn't been meeting and we couldn't make quorum. But yes, with all of this, through NIPERG as well, kind of like encouraged me to do a lot more into the political realm. So I kind of, talked to some of my friends that talked about, hey, there's a community board. This is the process to get on it. So I applied, did an interview, became the first young person at the moment sitting on the community board, because there's about a 10 to 15-year-old age difference between me and the next youngest person. And it made me like a sense of like happiness, because knowing that youth had a chance to sit at the table, especially like coming from a college student.
Interesting. I would think that it might be more difficult to be that one young person at the table because your voice might not be heard because of your youth. Can you talk about the lack of youth representation in that sort of environment? And like, do you want to see more? Do you want to like, what would you like to see happen?
Yeah, I would say when it comes to the political process in Sunset Park, the youth is never there. Like it's kind of like heartbreaking to see like we have a lot of community meetings, especially in the community board, even just not even the community board, like Department of Transit has meetings. A lot of these government resources have meetings at Sunset Park, but there's never youth there to talk about, hey, how is this able to benefit me, or why can't we come to these meetings? But it just feels like there's never a seat for us when it comes to these events.
And that kind of brings me to one of the main points that I wanted to talk about today, and it was voter turnout among the youth, among those college students. Between the 18 and 29 range in the 2020 election, only 59% of registered voters went out and voted. It's very difficult to see those numbers, and I assume it's the same for you, and it's part of the reason why you've been advocating for voter turnout on your home campus of Brooklyn College. So can you tell me about the process of getting people to register and trying to convince them to go out and vote?
Yeah, I would say the process is kind of a little hard to get young people to register to vote because there's a lot of, outside circumstances that are like not allowing them to make this their priority. But
Like
also,
what, if I
uh,
may ask?
yes, I would say that it has to do with like, we're in a housing crisis, we're in inflation, rent has gone up, the prices of goods have gone up, and a lot of people don't have time to like really watch the news or look at a phone and just be like, oh, what should I, voting and etc. They're too busy, going to school. After school, they're going straight to work. And then they're working 2 to 3 jobs and they don't have the time to have like a small amount of time to look at, what's the most important things right now should be elections because these are the same people that we're voting for that, manages the resources in the city and, how resources get distributed. But I would say the way that I like to encourage more students to turn out to vote or like get them registered is to state that this elections are happening. Just remember that the presidential elections is not the only thing that's on the ballot. You have your local elections that which matters the most because a lot of youth feel like their voices don't matter because it's always um, given that New York is like leans a certain way.
Right.
Um,
It's a very blue state and it's
yeah.
very blue, especially in New York City. But those local elections do help determine, how many trash cans are going to be put on the blocks, things of that sort. And people, I don't think necessarily acknowledge it as much, and it's a little bit overshadowed by the presidential campaign that's going on. So, how do you encourage people to go out and research those local elections and figure out, okay, who is the best for what I need for my community?
The way I would suggest, the way I've been suggesting people is really like, you have to use Google to search up your own assembly district, plug in the address where you live. Always, it's um not that hard to like, search up who's the assembly representative for this address, and you plug in your address. And I've been helping students, go in, searching their own candidates, saying here's the Republican, the Democrat, or whatever candidate that's running in their assembly district. Hey,
Hmm.
you should take time, research those candidates, whoever candidates best align with you. You have the chance to go out and vote, and maybe, get more of your friends to go out and vote. For instance, in my own district in CB7, there's about 1.5 thousand youth ranges 18 to 29 who are not registered
Ooh.
in my own community, which is like kind of hard to try to turn that
Yeah.
out.
I wanted to ask about that too because South Brooklyn, especially in New York City, it's the second lowest place in terms of voter turnout. Why do you think that is? Like we brushed on it a little bit before, but why specifically in South Brooklyn compared to maybe some other parts?
Yeah, I want to say South Brooklyn is definitely the lowest due to the fact that it's like for instance Sunset Park is a major working class neighborhood. So a lot of I would say my neighbors don't have the time to go out and vote, especially because election day is not a paid holiday and not everyone has a day off. So a lot of families can't take that time off because if they lose those 2 or 1 hour to go out and vote, they might not have enough money to go put food on their table, pay rent, child care, or they might, risk
Yeah.
losing their job.
So what would you suggest to make the process a little bit easier? Do you think it's easy enough
Um,
to go
I
out and
don't think,
vote?
yeah, no, I don't think it's very easy enough to have people to go out and vote. Especially when there's not a lot of, I would say, information out there, especially in different languages. Because in Sunset Park, English is not our predominant language. We
Hmm.
have Spanish, we have Cantonese, we have Mandarin, we have a huge Asian population above Sunset Park as well. That I feel like the guides and stuff like that that's published doesn't really interact in those type of languages to get the people to turn out.
Right. I mean, speaking from somebody who has not been extremely politically engaged throughout my entire youth, I don't think I even voted in the last election. I hate to say it, but I've tried to go through the process of going through it again. And sometimes it feels like it can be simple to vote. It's like, oh, it's just a couple clicks, but sometimes it feels like it's a little bit more difficult. So, is there a simpler online process that you would think could help people a lot easier to just like, okay, like do this, and you're good, sort of thing?
I want to say there's not really that many resources out there to really kind of like make picking your candidate the fastest. What I recommend for people to do, which New York City does have a website search, you could find, it's called Find My Ballot.
Okay.
And it's like a way where people could plug in their address and it gives them a sample ballot to review, and it shows the candidates who's running in the district. So you have enough time before elections happen to really search it up, go one by one. As much as, if your district has a congested election, then it might be very difficult because, there's so many candidates running. But I feel like um, taking a little bit small times throughout the days, because election day is November 5th. So I feel like a lot of people still have time to like still search up their candidate.
Yes, and I believe the deadline to register is October 26th, which is something that you got to mark in your calendar. Make sure that everything is good by then. But in terms of let's speak generally now. I feel like politics in general just have a certain connotation to it. I don't know if you agree, but it feels like it can be a little overwhelming at times. Can you talk about why you think it's so overwhelming and how we can kind of fix that?
I feel like, yeah, that there's definitely times, even now, that politics are very overwhelming, that people kind of like, since it's so overwhelming and there's so much to do or there's so much to research, it kind of like makes people not want to even do bother to do the research, not even makes them want to even go out and vote, because there's so much out there. And I feel like given that this election makes it even worse, given that this is a very, very, could go either way kind of election, makes people not even want to just go out and vote because we have candidates and, this election is not really talking to working class people or what people's issues are. We definitely want to hear, candidates on the housing issue, on sanitation issues. We want to know, I feel like the way that people could go out and vote is like, if we have candidates really talking about issues that everyday people are facing other than, the big elites and etc.
Right. And we also look at the debate that just happened. I mean, that was nearly 2 hours worth of time. I don't know how many people have that time of day to just sit there and watch and go through everything and be able to understand what's going on. So I feel like we need to make it a little bit more digestible for the everyday consumer. How would you go about that process?
I would say that's a very interesting question.
I feel like it can be hard to just sit and be like, okay, I need to read all this and understand it all. And a lot of people just don't, which I can frankly say I understand. It's hard to understand and care about all those things if you're not already involved. So for the everyday person who may not be as politically engaged, how do you tell them, okay, this is how you should try and consume your information so that it makes sense to you?
I would definitely ask that person to really go on certain websites, search up candidates or search up your address, little by little. One resources I use is Ballotpedia, really
Okay.
to kind of, it's like Wikipedia, but Ballotpedia kind of breaks down, like, if you want to not really search up candidates each one by one, they're like really good on picking your district, tells you all about the candidates in like a simplest term. And then it's kind of like a good overview for like people who don't want to use a lot of their time to research. It like breaks it down on what's their major issue, who they are, and then you would be able to make your decision right there and then if you want to even choose to vote in your own
Okay,
district.
we'll have to link that up there. The other thing that I was possibly considering would be social media. It is so incredibly powerful. I don't know what's on your For You page, but mine's a little crazy at times. We're not going to go into that. But like, would you like to see more TikToks talking about politics? How would you make that entertaining so people are like, oh, okay, I can get into this?
Yeah, I would definitely say TikTok is one of the best ways if we want to like really get the youth turnout, or anyone to turn out. For me, when it came to, I believe the elections for governor that just happened, me and my district leader, we released a little cute little TikTok of us dancing to Beyonce, and trying to encourage people to go out and vote, saying this is the amount of time you have left. And I feel like you could make politics even fun by like dancing in a way and try
Yeah.
to get like, post that cute little video, and then boom, it blows up because so many people are on TikTok, and then, people are listening to Beyonce and etc.
The amount of people that doom scroll on TikTok every single day, myself included, guilty. Yikes. But like, it's just simple things like putting brat over something that's happening in the political, like that gets people excited, and it's like, okay, like I can rock with this. We got some cooking here. But in terms of also protesting has been a big thing. I know that you've been out protesting for various issues. Can you talk about the process of going out and actually doing the deed?
I want to say it, yeah, going out doing the deed is I want to say is my funnest way to like kind of interact with
Okay.
politics. When it comes to like even doing little civic forget uh
Civic duties.
civic duties, like
Okay.
not civic duties, it's a word where like you get arrested, civil something, it's like littlest things, yeah, goes behind my mind, but stuff like that, even testifying like
Hmm.
behalf like city council, going to like community meetings, really giving out your voice, I want to say is definitely the way that I like to put my pressure, even
Okay.
forming a protest of my own. I know given last legislative session, not this one, the one before this one, so last year, I organized a small protest with YDSA on Brooklyn campus to really put pressure on Governor Hochul because she was trying to get a tuition hike for all CUNY students that
Yes, I
year.
remember that.
And, that's something that I would say helped students really get into the political process because, once you hear something that's impacting to you, you're like, wait a minute, this is really going to hurt me. What could I do about it? And just making a simple phone call that year did a lot because at the end of legislative session, she decided not to raise tuition for, the hundreds of thousands of CUNY students out there.
So, in terms of protesting, how hard is it to kind of achieve the end result? Because there are some people who might believe, okay, I see them protesting, I agree with the ideals, but I'm not sure how effective it is at getting what we want out of it. Can you talk about following up after a protest to make sure that what you're fighting for is actually being achieved?
Yeah, 100%. I want to say like, there's always going to be wins and there's always going to be losses. And even though, protesting a little bit, we might not get a response. I feel like that shouldn't, make people be like, dang, we didn't achieve this one. We couldn't, like, for instance, always going to Albany last semester to get the new deal for CUNY Pass. We saw wins this semester by, by Governor Hochul increasing tuition assistance, increasing the TAP from $80,000 to 125. And so we won a little bit there.
Okay.
So we, to take, some of the wins, but there's a lot more stuff to like follow up by constantly keep on putting pressure and like keep on protesting, keep on doing lobby days and etc. until we get the demands that we want really there.
It
It's
in my head it can be difficult to be the one, saying the words at a protest because sometimes I've seen them taken out of context or it seems like it could be very like misconstrued about the real message of what you're trying to achieve. I wanted to talk a little bit about Brooklyn College. Let's bring it back. Dorming is a big issue, and housing as a general statement is very important. I know that Brooklyn College is a little short on dorms. Can you talk about the process of finding ways for students to get affordable housing?
Yeah, I want to say the only ways that additional from our dorms, I didn't even recall that Brooklyn College actually had dorms.
I don't think that they do.
Yeah, they
That's,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're in our housing crisis. The best way I would say for like average students to really find a home is really searching up and making an account on Housing Connect. That's the lottery apartment system that we have for here in New York City.
Okay.
Even though, you might not get the apartment right away, and there's people who have been on that list for like years now, but it doesn't hurt to kind of like make an account, hit apply now, and you might become, the next person. You might get an email anytime. Um,
But it's based on luck.
but it's unfortunately it's based on luck.
So how would you go about changing that? I know that some other CUNY schools have their own dorms, but they're very expensive, upwards of 15K a year. That's a lot of money to shell out that people don't really have. So it's like, okay, if they can't be in the dorm, they're not that close to campus, and then they find themselves commuting for hours on end each week, and they can't get as much done as they might be able to if they had a dorm or if they were closer to their campus. So, I mean, how would you change that, or like what would you like to see implemented in your perfect world?
My perfect world, everyone has a house. I would love to see like if every single college campus was able to designate dorms or build dorms for college students and make it really cheap. Um, even potentially free in my perfect world,
Yeah,
making sure that, we pay so much taxes. Why can't these taxes really go back to us? Build housing with our taxes.
right.
Stop for-profit housing, build social housing that's really gonna house working class people, who's gonna house college students. For instance, at my community board meeting this past week, our main public hearing was based on housing. And the one thing I was trying to fight for is making sure that this housing that we're building in our district is housing for people who make less than $40,000, because there's 61 affordable units being built in a 354 apartment complex, and you're saying that only 61 could be affordable, but the cheapest apartment, you have to make an income of $42,000 a year to qualify for it. But a lot of college students, we don't have 40. We
Who
don't make an
has that
income
on
on them
deck?
right now.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's like, how are we able to be housed if you're not building housing for us?
right. So, I mean, it's like crazy. I mean, you want everybody to have housing, you want everybody to have healthcare. It's like, is that so crazy to
Right.
ask for
Hey, arrest me. Arrest me.
right now? No, it's ridiculous. But okay, so let's kind of switch gears. We've talked a lot about the political aspect of what's been going on in New York City and throughout the country, but I wanted to ask a little bit more about you. So you're soon to graduate. I know you're taking 19 credits right now. That's crazy, first of all. That's impressive, to say the least. Applaud, applaud, applaud. But what do you see yourself doing after you graduate?
One thing I see myself really after I graduate is really trying to work with NYPIRG. NYPIRG is really where they're the ones who got me to the place that I am now. So I really want to give back, and plus what NYPIRG's values do. Like NYPIRG's values align so much with my values, and knowing that if I work with NYPIRG, I'm helping so many students enter the political atmosphere to even make another little me. Kind of like is what I want to see like in the world, and that's what I really want to do after graduation, is either work in nonprofit with NYPIRG, work in other nonprofits, work especially in a housing nonprofit, trying to make sure
Oh,
that,
that'd be amazing.
yeah, we're building housing, for no working class people, especially college students, and that, or maybe potentially running for office.
Oh, look out for it. I'm very excited for you, and you do such amazing work. And I really want to see so many more versions of you out there fighting for the same sorts of things and fighting for what you believe in. That's kind of what it's here for, what it's worth. So I'm really excited for you, and I really hope that everything goes according to plan. So the last question that I kind of have, well, we wanted to keep it light. I wanted to ask kind of, what is that one place on campus that you want to gatekeep from everybody else? We're blowing it up right now.
Oh,
I know. Everybody has their spot on campus. It's like this is my little corner.
my little corner on campus. So at Brooklyn College, if you're a Brooklyn College student, you probably know about the pond, which I don't think it's a very gatekeep, but a lot of
Okay.
new students don't know where it is. It's like a little pond that we have on campus where it has koi fish, turtles on it, and it's like a
Nice.
nice little scenery, if you want to like go out and read a book, or do studying there, or like work on homework. I would say that's like my little spot that I want to like gatekeep, because there's so limited amount of chairs on there, seats available. So it's like first person, first come,
Yeah.
first come.
Hunter
First.
has a similar problem with their seating. But yeah, Damien, thank you so much for joining me today. This has truly been wonderful. First guest of season 3. It's been a blast, and I'm excited for everything that you're about to do and everything that you'll achieve.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you all for tuning in, and make sure to check out CUNY Uncut on social media, and make sure to download the CUNY TV app. And I'm your host, David Horn, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.